Tonya Kubo, we are live. How are you?
Hey, Cheri. I am doing well. How are you today?
I am doing very well, very well. It's a little overcast up here in Seattle. How is it there in Central California?
It is very warm today.
Okay, but you get sunshine?
We get a lot of sunshine.
You
yes, we do get
We've
a lot
had
of sunshine.
a lot, but we've gotten some clouds today. So, oh well. So, Miss Kubo, I first met you when I walked into the kitchen of Kathy Lip's house, coming to my first leverage conference. And you were just a worker bee, and I sat down and said, put me to work, and we just hit it off right there.
We did. We collated a lot of binders, and I kept screwing them up, and you kept fixing them for me. So I appreciate you, and I'm sure the attendees appreciate the fact that their binders made sense.
Well, you know, I'm a 7. It has to go right. So, Miss Tonya lives in Central California with your husband, Brian, and your 2 daughters, Abby and Lily.
Yes.
And how old are they?
10. Lily's 10 and Abby is 5.
Oh, how's that going in the house with school?
Abby was done with my cooking about a week and a half into the whole thing, and we're just flying by the seat of our pants around here. And half the time, 2/3 of us don't have pants on. That's just how it is. That was today, right? Today we had 10 o'clock every day. Abby gets a reading lesson with her teacher because she really struggles. And she was at the bottom of the class when class ended. So the teacher's working with her. This sounds great. It's 20 minutes after 10. Teacher's like, is Abby okay? What's going on? And I'm like, so I go to figure it out. Abby is totally naked. I go to the teacher. I say, I swear to you at 9:55, that child had clothes and a ponytail. And now there is not a stitch on her. I need 5 minutes.
Oh, that is so hilarious. But we could probably fill the whole half hour with
kind
of stories. But
that's not what people did not come to hear about my naked as a jaybird family.
They might have. It gives us something else to think about. So, Tonya, you are a media consultant who helps Christian writers and speakers build thriving online communities. But what I love about your tagline right here is that you help them stop counting followers and start connecting to the followers that count. And I think that applies to everything in life, not just to if you're a writer or speaker and you want to work on your social media, but being able to stop counting those that are following and connect with the followers that count. I love that. That is awesome.
Well, and I feel like this is what we're going to talk about today. And I know we've got Vicki with us and Jamie, which is really, really exciting. So
Kim Nowlin's with us.
Oh, Kim Nowlin.
We can do the romper room thing.
I feel like a celebrity every time Kim Nowlin watches one of my videos because she is so like famous to me. I love her. So what I was going to say, though, is a lot of what we're talking about tonight, I think, is kind of who do we let speak into our lives, right?
Yes. We're going to talk about it. It's a pretty touchy subject.
Are we going to go there? Are you going to let me?
We are going to go there. It's a sensitive topic in the mom world because we're going to be talking about the stay-at-home mom misperception and the working, quote, employed mom misperceptions that are out there and how much of them are so not true, but we let them hang on and we take a hold of them and they can be divisive. They're kind of like that elephant in the room. You know, when you get together with the moms and everyone's kind of start talking and all of a sudden that subject comes up. So what do you do? Right. So go ahead and open us up a little bit on a little bit of your journey. When I talked to you, I loved the backstory about how you got to where you are today, living out the plan that God prepared you to live and just accepting that.
It's been a long journey. Like Lily's 10 and a half. So it's been a longer journey than that. So, you know, my husband and I had been married before. Obviously to other people, not to each other. Well, maybe that's not obvious. But anyway, we've been married to other people is my point. And we were unsuccessful having children. And so when we got married, we operated under an assumption that we would be unable to have children of our own. And so we started an adoption journey. And in the middle of our adoption journey, ended up pregnant, which was a complete blessing, but really through our whole plan on its ear, because we were expecting to not be parents for 2 to 3 years, looking at everything that people tell us on how long adoption can take. And then we find out, and I was quite pregnant before I found out I was pregnant, because I didn't think my body did that. So, we found out like 2 weeks before second trimester. And so suddenly it was like everything was right here. And I remember, and anybody here who has worked outside the home, when they found out they're pregnant, probably can identify with this. So, I told my supervisor, like, I just found this out, because suddenly now I have all these doctor's appointments because I haven't had prenatal care. Mm-hmm. And like, I went back to my office, not even an hour went by, and I got an instant message that said, do you think you're going to be coming back to work?
Wow.
And I was like, I hadn't thought about that. Right? Like I was like, I don't, and I said, honestly, I don't know. That's a good question. And so it didn't take long before I was in tears at home, pregnant and hormonal and all the things, and told Brian, like, I just don't think I can. Like, I don't, and I had this idea, like, God did not give me a baby to pay other people to raise it. Yeah, I said those words out loud to more than just my husband. Go give me a gold star for being a big fat jerk. But that's what I thought, right? Because every book I read to say that good Christian moms put everything aside and pour into raising their family. And I read everything about, the mom is the heart, and you have to be there, and you're the first influence, and you're the teacher, and God created you for all this stuff. And I'm not saying any of that's not true. I'm just saying that I read that as I would be not just a bad mom, but a bad Christian and a bad mom if I continued to work outside the home after I became a mother.
Wow, that is pressure.
Leave it to me to put some pressure on things.
Well, but like you said, those are all true facts, but the pressure was that you felt that you had to uplift all of them, that if you even thought about going back to work, you were a bad Christian for doing that. And I think that is what's out there, and what is the, between the stay-at-home mom and the employed mom, is one feels that they're looked down on and the other feels that they're looked down on. And we want, you and I today, we want to break that. We want women to be able to have open conversations and healed hearts about the role that you are currently in as a mother. And so you shared with me that the longest time you just kept trying to be the mom that you were supposed to be. What kind of mom was it that you were comparing yourself to? And how did you get to the understanding that you actually are that mom that God designed you to be?
Yeah, isn't that funny? So, so the quick story, just the backstory, is I went on maternity leave, decided not to come back to work. My daughter was about 3 weeks old when my husband found out he lost his job. So then we had a tiny baby and now 0 incomes. So I was like, well, you know what? I've got marketable skills. I'll just go back. I'll start being a consultant, and then I can work around, the baby's schedule, and really just dove into this period of workaholism, right? Trying to justify my place in the world. And then I went back to the traditional workforce, and was in the traditional workforce for about a decade before I left to be in my own business. And so through that time, what I've realized now is I had this composite perfect mom in my brain that was a combination between, like, whoever the perfect woman was at church, right? Because there's always the one person we all perceive to be perfect. Her, the Proverbs 31 woman, Betty Crocker, and like every 1950s housewife I had ever seen in syndication. Like all of their strengths, nobody's weaknesses. And that was my idea of this perfect mom. Like I was supposed to be doing, Bible study and volunteering at church and volunteering for international ministry for moms. And I was, and all of that had to go on top of working. Like working had to be the extra in my mind. And it was unrealistic.
It is. Yeah, I'm seeing what Kim saying here. Being a pastor, it's a double whammy because she not only has to deal with people that be the mom, working mom, but a pastor, which a lot of people have an issue with women pastors. One of the things that I was thinking of when you were talking is I think we believe, even stay-at-home moms, that we have to have this balance of all these things. And we look at these moms that are the June Cleaver, and they're able to do all these things. And even though we are stay-at-home moms, I didn't have that. I didn't have the perfect clean house and the homemade food every night. And it's this pressure that we keep putting on ourselves. And I would look at the working mom and get, I would hear people say, well, what do you do? Well, I'm a doctor, I'm a CPA, I'm a consultant, I'm even like him, I'm a pastor. And then they'd look at me and I'd say, oh, I'm a stay-at-home mom. And then there'd be like this pause. They'd say, oh, must be nice to just be a stay-at-home mom. And what does just mean? It means nothing more than.
So let's talk. I want to ask you how that feels.
Well, when you say just a stay-at-home mom, like I said, it implies that you're nothing more than. And so I felt like they would say, well, you don't work. So I was thinking, well, do you think I'm sitting on a porch swing having tea, just watching perfectly dressed children play in the daffodils? I don't know.
In white. They're dressed in white and there's no mud. That's what I'm envisioning right now.
Yes. Or they'd say, I did go to school. I got a BS degree. And they'd say, well, you're just wasting your degree.
Don't get me started on that one. You're going to see murder in my eyes.
And now I'm an empty nest. So I get the question, well, what do you do with all your time? And I'm now to a point where I can hear those things when they don't bring out the in me. Doing this, and I'm just a stay-at-home mom, and I'm wasting my degree, and they're out being productive, and they're using all those letters behind their name, PhD, MD, CPA, and I get the JUST. Yeah. But there comes a point where you just have to accept what you are. And God actually showed me one day, he said, why don't you look up just? Why don't you look that up? Because there's more definitions, and you've only taken one as your identity. And I'd like to give you another one. I put in the word just, and up popped exactly what I need. So I'd like to say to all the moms out there that you're not just you are just you are exactly what God needs in that role. And you had a perfect story for that with your daughter sharing a moment of vulnerability.
Oh,
and I'd love to hear that. I'd love for you to share that.
Okay. So I had, so I work from home, and I had a situation like, we have hard conversations, right? My work is not always easy. I don't always make everybody happy. And so there was a hard conversation over Zoom where it was made very clear that I was not meeting expectations. And the reality was I was doing the best I could. And so I got off that Zoom call and I forgot that my daughter was home because I'm not used to having them home. And I went to the bathroom and I just started crying. And I'm not a crier anyway. And she was like, she saw me in the hallway and she was like, whoa. And I kind of skedaddled to the bedroom, right, to go find the tissues. And she was like, whoa, and she talks about me in the third person. It's the funniest thing ever. Why does mom look like she's been crying? And I just lost it. Like I just started sobbing. And I was like, because moms just cry sometimes. And she's like scared because she doesn't ever see me cry. And so, finally I just said, and for the sake of our viewers, just very briefly, I said, you know what? I said, part of being an adult is that realizing that sometimes your best is not good enough. that there are times that you're going to do the absolute possible best that you can, and somebody is going to come back and say, sorry, not good enough. And some people are nice about it and some people aren't nice about it. And I just had a situation where that happened to me. I feel like the person was meaner than they should have been. But honestly, I'm crying because they're kind of right. And she got super defensive because, well, I'm her mom, right?
Yeah.
And she's just like, well, that person is wrong and this is wrong and that person can't talk to you like that, and you are a good mom, you are good at your job, you care so much about the people you serve, you're up late, you're up early. And she just starts listing like all these things that she has observed in me. And and of course I'm so wounded at this point, and I said, you're right, I do all that and thank you so much, but sometimes everything you do is still not good enough. You still make mistakes. You still screw up. And you know what? People still call you on it. And what I have to do right now as the grown-up, like I have my tears for a minute, but as the grown-up, I have to go back. I have to go get in a meeting with that same person. I have to pretend my feelings aren't hurt, and I have to figure out how to fix this.
Yeah.
And as much as that sucked, because that night I was going to my husband and I was like, that's it, I'm quitting. I'm gonna eat bonbons on my couch. Which we all know is not what stay-at-home moms do, but it sounds like it would be fun. But the thing was, the gift of the whole situation is she is learning lessons from me that she wouldn't learn if I wasn't going through these hard experiences.
Right.
She's not learning better lessons than if I was the stay-at-home mom who lived her life like it was on Pinterest. But she's learning lessons, and they are valuable lessons.
Right. And like we said, you are the exact mom she needs, the lessons that you can teach her. And if that is from an employment situation, that is the lesson that God gave you the ability to teach her. And the lessons that God gave me the ability to teach my children come through experiences that I had. Mm-hmm. And those are the moments that we need to realize and stop, like you said, stop fighting the path that God has us on, and be the mom that he asked us to be, and not compare the moms. Because one of the things that you talked about now that you're working more from home with the situation is you're not going to a 9-to-5 job. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes now there's maybe a perception that you have more time or more things to juggle, or mm-hmm. How is it different going from an office 9-to-5 to now you are at home, but you still have to work?
Yeah, well, there's definitely this perception, it's like with this whole distance learning thing, right? Like I can plan my whole day around Zoom calls for my 5-year-old. Like I seriously do. I feel like that meme that's going around social media, like I'm my 5-year-old secretary. Yeah. Like never in my life did I think I'd have to coordinate all of our schedules like that, and the bandwidth of the Wi-Fi. But, and there's definitely this perception also, because of course I'm working from home. My husband, who doesn't typically work from home, is working from home. But there is definitely a perception out there that as the mom, I handle all the things. Mm-hmm. As the mom, I'm the one who gets the messages about school, right? The dad doesn't, even though he's the one who has to orchestrate it most of the time. As the mom, I'm the one who's considered responsible for making sure that the library books are set aside to go back to school whenever school opens. I'm the one who's responsible for making sure that the girls check off all the boxes that they're supposed to check off. And it's a burden, right? I'm stretched thin. Mm-hmm. I think that's the other thing that, and I know you have a story to share about, the fun things our kids say. Like, I'll never forget when Lily, one time we were arguing in the morning, right? Because we were running behind. She was really lazy in the mornings. She was like 5. And she was like, well, if you didn't work, you could homeschool me, and then I wouldn't be late to school every day. And I remember and I was crushed, right? Because what she didn't know was homeschooling was my secret little girl dream. And I just looked at her and I said, yeah, but then you'd have me as your teacher. And she was just like, okay. But you have a kid story.
Well, I'll have a kid story. Well, one day when we were talking about needing to get money for something, my son little at the time, so it was not said in any vindictive way, but he reminded me that I would need to go ask Dad for money because Dad's the one that makes the money, and I need to get, his permission because I don't work and I don't make the money. And so that's, he's looking at it from what he sees, but it's that little thing inside that little kids say these things that you're just like, ouch.
So, and the reason I wanted you to share that is, because I don't think I told you that, but I have had so many women in my life say that. So many women in my life who talk about how, it's really upsetting to them that they can't go and buy the kids something without their husband knowing about it because, he makes the money. It's his money. Or they can't go buy their husband a gift without him knowing because he makes the money. It's his money. And they worry about the example that they're setting for their children. Like the kids are gonna, the kids remember all the stuff you buy for them because they know you work and you have the money, but they don't associate anything I buy for the kids because they feel like you make the money. And I'm just curious from your perspective, where does that come from?
Well, they see their dad get up and go to work in the morning and they see you stay home. So they're associating that you go to work, you make the money, and mom is one of us and she needs dad to give her that money. And I am very fortunate that my husband doesn't ever question what I purchase and stuff. But I don't see that kids actually make the distinction that we're a team, that we work together. Even if I were employed and he were employed, we're still a team. It's still our money. It's still a joint thing. But I now that they're older, of course, they understand the difference. But when they were little, it was, that was dad's money.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that I'm curious about is, like, I understand where a kid gets that perception from what they see, but I see that women like take ownership of that same perception because I'm the first person because I'm just really transparent. Like there is a high cost to working outside the home. Like the current situation has been very nice on our bank account because I'm not shelling out the amount of money I used to shell out in childcare expenses.
Yeah.
But when I have done the back of the napkin math for people and said, okay, so here's the cost of childcare that I pay. Here's the cost of the parking permit for the office. Here's the cost of the lunches out that I eat, right? Here's the cost of office birthdays, blah, blah, blah. Here's the cost of the special clothes, because trust me, if I didn't have to work outside the home, I wouldn't be dressed like this, right? I put that all, that's a fairly decent income.
Yeah.
And that's what a woman who makes the choice to not be employed, that's the gift she's giving to her family. And that's not anything to sneeze at.
Exactly. I helped arrange my 10-year high school reunion a long time ago. And
it wasn't just yesterday.
And so you're at that time, that was before the internet. I'll just say that if I date myself. And so I had to cold call a bunch of people. And I got so sick of the question that you have to answer. So you're not working. So you're not working. So you're not working. And I wanted to get kind of sarcastic. I didn't. But I wanted to just say, well, actually, the money that I'm not spending is what I'm making. But it's just, I don't know if it's just a perception. I don't think it's just a perception between moms. I think it's just a perception that's out there.
Yeah, well, and it's hard. And I think a lot of it is, we've talked about this before, and I think everybody who's watching would understand, right? So much of it is the story that's being spoken in our heads.
Yeah, in our heads.
It's not actually what I think about you. Like, I'm too busy to actually have many opinions about you and your life choices. I love you, Cheri, but I am not up at 2 a.m. worried about what you are doing or how you're parenting your kids or whether you're buying your husband a Christmas present that he knows about or not. Like, seriously, not on my top 100 things.
What if I'm not even feeding my family today because I didn't feel like cooking?
Again, not losing sleep over that. And are you losing any sleep over me and my childcare situation or the fact that I pay other people to raise my kids?
Well, I was going to ask you I was going to ask you to, wondering about the McDonald's that you told me you were feeding them.
Oh, yes, yes. And what is wrong with me? I mean, maybe like, maybe the mothers who are further along on their journey can explain this. Like I have had flat out meltdowns over the fact that my kids have eaten fast food at night. Like, I'm the world's worst mother because my kids had McDonald's. Or I'm the world's worst mother because I can't remember when I cooked something green for them to eat. Because my husband loves to cook, but like he'll cook like pasta and sauce, right? There's just nothing green with it. And, you know, and I remember one time being at a Bible study and just being vulnerable, and I was juggling a lot at that time. And I said, you know, I just like the kids had McDonald's for dinner on Tuesday and I just can't believe it. And this one mom who also stretched thin, just doing different things, was like, yeah, my kids eat like drive-through 4 to 5 nights a week. Like, what are you trying to say? And you're like, nothing at all. Like, that's right. Because you don't realize how judgmental you sound when all you care about is judging yourself.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah, that's really good. I like that one.
Sorry, can we repeat what Kim said? Because it's so true, right? And I remember when I went back to the university, like when people would talk about being a stay-at-home mom, I would be like, oh, I don't have I don't have the gumption, like, because you work all the time, right? Like, at least I can go to the office and have some silence.
Yeah, all moms work all the time because you get to go home from work and work. And I think one thing that's important to understand is you have to be aware of what your role is, what you're doing, and not try to take on any other roles. If you are working full time, you need to accept that maybe you aren't going to coordinate the bake sale at the school, and be okay with sending store-bought cookies. And be okay with that.
Huge. Well, so let's go back to our topic, right? Which is accepting God's plan in your life. Like, somebody told me this several years ago, and I thought I understood it, but I didn't, right? That you have enough time to do what God wants you to do. If you find yourself running out of time, that's because you're trying to do things that God does not have in store for you. So what is that? And you need to like pull that off your plate. And, you know, I want to be the mom who volunteers 2 hours a day in my kids' classroom. I want to be room mother. My mom was room mother. Like, that was like prestigious. I remember that when your mom was room mother. Ooh, you were part of the cool kids club. So like, I want to do all those things. I want to be at all the midday events at school, but I'm only one person.
Right.
And I have some flexibility, but I don't have total flexibility, and I have to accept that. And it's hard. It's hard to, I mean, like, now it's a little easier, right? Because they actually want you to bring store-bought stuff to school. Yeah. But, you know, it's hard to be to feel like you're the only mom who's like doing the bare minimum.
Well, and I was the room mom, but I will tell you, I relied on the working moms to do the stuff that we had. One mom, all she did was cut out, not all, sorry, I shouldn't say that. She cut out the stars that we needed to place on the boards. She had the time in the evening to cut out the stars. Or I would say, we're going to go on a field trip and we just need someone to send some little cutie oranges. Because if I think as the room mom that I have to take on all the responsibility, then I've overdone myself, and I'm going to go home exhausted. I'm going to go home feeling like a loser. But if I can call all the moms, no matter what their gift is, and if it's a working mom, can she send a bag of cuties on little oranges, or can they cut the stars, or can they help pitch in $5 for the Starbucks card? I'll go buy the Starbucks card, but it's got to be a united front as mothers.
Well, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that was huge. When Abby went to kindergarten, right, we had a little bit of like bank account shock when that child care bill didn't exist anymore. We're like, why is there so much money at the end of the month? What do we do with this stuff? But, you know, the girls had teachers who were trying to do certain things for the classroom. And I was like, and I pulled the teachers aside and I said, I know you're having a work day on Saturday. I can't. Sorry, I've got a commitment. but could I make a financial contribution? Because I am in a place right now where that's a possibility.
Yeah.
And they looked at me like I was the most amazing person on the planet. They did not shame me for not coming to the 8-hour workday. They did not say, oh, but if you loved your child, you would be here. Like, and of course, I'm up there sheepishly like, I'm so sorry, I can't do that. I'm sorry I have a life outside of this. And they were so grateful for the financial contribution. So you're right. It's all about contributing the gifts that God has given us to contribute.
Yes.
And my gifts are not your gifts.
No, because your gifts are exactly what he needs you for. And you know how many lives you have touched through your career. You've got an amazing online group, and all of Tonya's links are in our notes there. But Tonya it makes a difference in the lives of everyone that she is encountered with, and God uses you in that way too. And your girls watch that. Your girls watch what you do. They see you walk the talk, talk the walk, walk the talk. They see you be the strong woman that God created you to be. And my kids see the strong woman God created me to be, and Kim and Jamie and Jackie and all of you that are watching, Vicky, you know, the women that you are is exactly who God created you to be. And I'm just so thankful that you took the time to come on here and talk with us. And
well, thank you for setting this up. You know, I think my one regret, if it's not really a regret, is that more women don't take the opportunity to talk about this.
Yes.
In public spaces. I think the more that we talk about how it's hard and how we felt, the judgment we felt, and then have the opportunity to say, you know, that's not true, like to lift each other up, I think the more we can fight against this.
Yes. And, you know, that's what the enemy wants. He wants us to be divided, but it takes a village and it takes a tribe, and all of us working together is exactly what God needs. So just be the mom you are, to stop fighting the path that God has put you on and the plan that he has for life, and just enjoy your kids and don't take on what you shouldn't take on.
Right.
Yeah.
And embrace it. Embrace the place that God has put you now. Like, this is your mission field regardless.
Yes, exactly. Well, we will, you know, we do need to keep the conversation. So we need to get back together and keep it going. And oh, my nephew, Elliot Fletcher, just joined us.
Hi, Elliot.
Hi, Elliot. You'll have to catch the replay, Elliot, because we're ending up here. But the conversation can keep going in the comments. We'll keep watching the thread, and you guys can find Tonya again on the show notes. And thank you so much for jumping on here, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you so much for having me, Cheri. This was truly a joy.
Great. We'll talk soon.